So welcome back, everybody, to another episode of You Smile, I Smile podcast. And today, I'm excited because as far as fish shop stands, when I've left the country or I've been on holiday for a short period of time or for months at a time, there's a certain foods that always play on my mind that I can't wait to get back to my hometown for. Number one, because I'm a big fan of the gravy. The chips are always special. Everything's special in the fish shop. Just talking from what my personal favourites are. This fish shop has a big history. There's lots of stories to be told, so I'm very grateful today to have Mr. Alan Edwards with me, and you're the owner of Vacara's Fish Shop. Alan, how are you today?
Very well, thank you.
Thank you very much, mate. Thank you so much for being here today with us. Alan, we're going to get straight into it, and I want to find out a little bit about you before I find out some stuff about the fish shop. So would you like to tell the people where you was born and what hospital you was born in and the year?
I was born in 1948 in Newport. Alongside the Royal Gwent, there was a private nursing home on the bottom of Clyther Square. So I was born there, and after 10 days, I was taken back to the fish shop, where I lived in the flat above it for the first 21 years of my life.
Wow, amazing. So you left the hospital straight above the fish shop. So when you say the fish shop, is that in the current location where the fish shop is now?
In Lanarth Street, although at the time we had two. We had one in Skinner Street.
And Skinner Street is based where?
Skinner Street, as you come down Stowe Hill,
right,
and flow right through, go across the Westgate Square and the High Street, and that's Skinner Street. And in Skinner Street at the time, we had a cinema, ABC Cinema.
So it wasn't just the Odeon over in Clarence Place that was a cinema?
The Odeon, we had the Coliseum, which is now a block of flats. And we had where the side of Friars Walk was the Capitol Cinema and the fire station.
Wow, fire station was there as well?
Yes.
And now the fire station...
Right in the centre of town.
The fire stations I know now would be on Conway Road and down by Dufferin.
Yeah, but that was Dock Street run parallel to Kingsway all the way from the old Green Crossing right down to Pill.
Wow, so you lived... where was your school? Where did you go to school?
Right. I was educated in a private convent on Stowe Hill.
When you say private convent, is that through the church?
Well, with nuns, yeah.
You mentioned that you was Catholic?
Roman Catholic, yeah.
Okay.
I was educated by nuns, yeah.
Educated
till
by nuns?
I was 11.
Can you just talk us through what that experience is like, being educated through nuns? Because I've never met anybody that was.
Very strict. Obviously, it was big on religion, an hour a day on what they used to call the catechism, which you had to learn off by heart. And... but the education was good. Obviously, your parents paid for it, so they gave you good education. But for example, when I was 7, I was called in by the Reverend Mother, the headmistress, and said, "Here's the Latin Mass. Go home and learn it. You're going to be an altar boy." No arguments. So I was enrolled at St. Mary's Church. I had to learn the Latin Mass, and then I served on the altar till I was 15.
And you mentioned previously that you served the altar till you was 15, and then cycling came into
Then one of my hobbies was cycling club, so we used to go on, well...
Long distance?
90 to 100 miles on a Sunday from 8 o'clock in the morning till 5 or 6 o'clock at night, so yeah.
Oh, fascinating. Right, so, brilliant. So this takes us to... Your grandfather and your father. So this fish shop has been in the family for 135 years?
1888 they came to Newport and set up a wet fish shop down by St. Paul's Church. And I think a lot of people know the story. They, at the time in England especially, they were starting to fry fish.
What year was that, sorry?
Well, 1888, but my great-grandfather, Tommaso Vacara, he didn't come from Italy. He was born in Manchester, but his father, Andrea, he came over when he was 17 from Naples area, and he married a lady from Birmingham, Elizabeth Tucker. And they ended up in Manchester. I had quite a large family. And my great-grandfather, Tommaso, he met a lady from Bangor, Margaret Elliott.
North Wales?
North Wales. And Margaret was the businesswoman. She was the one that started the business and worked it till she was about 92.
Wow.
But the great-grandfather, he died before he was 60. But they set up in Newport and started to fry fish. And the people in the church didn't like the smell. So they complained. And the council said they would fine her £1 a day, which was a lot in those days, if she didn't stop. So they closed down that business and moved down to Dolphin Street in Pell.
Wow.
And then they had a business there. And in 1900, she bought the one in Lennar Street, where we are now.
On the exact year of the 1900.
In 1900. And that was mainly to house all the people that work for her. Because in those days, if you employed someone, you usually had to give them board and lodge.
Wow.
And then in 1912, she rented the shop in Skinner Street. It was a double-fronted shop, would seat 100 people.
Wow. For fish and chips, 100 people?
Yeah. And she gave the running of that, she gave to her daughter, my grandmother. And my grandmother ran that till mid-60s, until it was compulsory purchased and knocked down when they built the passport office.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take you back just a little bit. When we mention a wet fish shop, could you just give us a little insight to what a wet fish shop was back then?
Like a fishmonger. You sold fish raw.
Would the boats been coming all the way up as far as the castle back then? And would the fish been coming off the boats fresh here, or would you?
No, I think I can remember when I was a very small boy going up the station and meeting the trains in the holidays from Milford Haven.
Yeah.
And from Fleetwood, coming down from just above Liverpool.
Fleetwood,
Fleetwood and Milford Haven.
I believe Fleetwood is in the same league as the county these days, if I'm right.
Yeah. Milford Haven was a big, down in Pembroke, was a big fish one.
Could you just?
But then you'd have wholesalers, especially in Cardiff.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And you'd be buying off them.
Because my grandfather won't eat saltfish these days unless it comes from the Cardiff market. He has a nice piece of saltfish for his breakfast sometimes, and he won't eat it unless it's from the Cardiff market. He says all these other places ain't up to scratch no more, and he has to go down there. So I'm interested to find out, what was the price of the bag of chips, the first bag of chips you can remember?
It was threepence, 3 pence, but that would equate to, 1.5p in decimal money.
That's what that, 1.5 pence, but again, it held its value.
Yeah. But fish was cheap then. Fish got very expensive when the European Union put quotas on fish in the middle 80s. It doubled the price overnight.
Overnight.
Am
I right in saying that the reason why this batter on fish was so it could be the reason why the batter was on fish is so they could cook the fish better?
Yeah.
So
if you put just fish in oil, it goes.
And
so you can cook it in dry flour. It'll protect it to a certain extent.
Because my grandfather told me that quite some years back, people used to buy their fish and peel the batter away.
Well,
if it was from a fish shop, sometimes they'd buy it, and some people would peel their batter away just for the fish.
Well, if I got someone in my restaurant that doesn't want batter, I'll offer them dry flour, or I'll steam it for them.
Steam fish. Of course, lovely.
Yeah, but why anyone would come into me and not want
you go to a fish shop. It's a bit baffling. Yeah. All right, and so. We're going to go back to you say your great-grandfather sadly passed away before he was 60?
Yes.
And I take it then that went on to your father? Did your father take over the business?
Right, so, no, my great-grandfather then I think my great-grandmother brought in as partners my grandmother and two of her brothers, Jim and Tom. And then when each one of them passed on, they left it to their eldest children. So when my father went into it, which was 1969, when his mother died, when my grandmother died, there was two other cousins of his in the shop at the time. And because Tom was a family name, they were all called Tom. Mm-hmm. So there was two Tom Vacaras and a Tom Edwards all working together. So it used to get confusing. Yeah.
Brilliant. Right. So we're going to skip forward a little bit. I was born in 1990. So I used to go up to town twice a week, but every Saturday religiously with my nan, my aunties, and we'd all be we'd all be sat eating Vacaras, eating our food. But through say from 85 till the end of, from 85 until 2000, John Frost Square, the Clock, Greg's, I can remember the Greg's with the cafe, all of that. What was life like? What was your, what can you tell us about town then? How did you feel about them years?
Well, I came in, I went to college and I was in those days it was called personnel management in the steel industry, or HR now. And I worked Lamwern, East Malls in Cardiff. And then when we closed that with British Steel, I went to work on the Isle of Sheppey in Kent, working for a North American steel company, electric arc plant. So I came back, when my father retired in 1983, I came back then. Now, the shop was ridiculously busy.
I can imagine.
It was, people would queue up half hour, especially on a Saturday. Thursday night and Friday nights were phenomenally busy because we had Tesco's food shop round the corner.
People were doing their food shopping.
In what we call now the Kingsway Centre, but it was called the Sovereign Arcade in those days.
Brilliant. Never ever knew that.
Because you went in to an arcade. The first entrance is narrow, isn't it?
Yeah,
you see it now.
Yeah.
And then it expands out.
Yeah.
Well, that was a hollow. And downstairs was the post office. And the entrance to Tesco's Home and Wear on the bottom floor. And on the top floor, linked to the car park, was the food shop. And it made the town centre. And we were so busy that in 1984 and 85, we had planned to expand the restaurant in the shop. Because we've got land at the back, we parked three or four cars on there. And we got planning permission, and we got builders regulations in, and we were going out to hire contractors. And someone whispered in our ear that Tesco was leaving town. So we held fire. And they left town in 86 and went out to Spiddy. And that was a disaster for the town centre.
Wow, just the Tesco's leaving alone.
Well, if you remember the square, there were lots of shops. There was a butcher's, a greengrocer's. There were small cafes.
Yeah, the cafes around the outside, wasn't it?
Within 6 months of Tesco's going,
they was all full.
They all gone.
They'd all gone.
They'd all gone. And the Kingsway Centre was completely altered then. It changed to...
That's when all the cafes and stuff was there. So you had a couple of gamblers and arcades, and they just had the leather, some old dresses and some bits. Just like a market. It was like a market, wasn't it?
They put the in-shops downstairs.
Yeah, more
Do you remember the in-shops?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So that happened after
the glass
Tesco.
elevator lifts as you go down.
That happened after Tesco went.
Well, like I said, I was born in 1990, but when I was youngster, we used to go swimming in the leisure centre, and afterwards come and get some chips and gravy, and we come from the one end, walk through Kingsway. Just that walk through, I can still see a smell. I got a thing about I can't let go of the past and certain things, and they mean like, and that type of stuff. I'm like, I really wish I don't like change. I'm not a big fan of change and seeing the way things have changed. And I don't think it's sort of better. That leads us to, obviously, you have seen the transition of the city centre. Now, I'm not going to shine no bad light because I love the place. But there's shops that have closed down and they need businesses to come in. Can you give me a reason why you think that there's nobody coming in to start go inside these shops? Because you mentioned that you was president of trades, am I correct?
Can I give you a little bit of history first?
This is why you're here, and thank you.
Right. So I'm living above the shop in the 50s. And I can remember, I think I was 10 or 11 when everybody was in shock because we had a letter from the council telling us that they were going to compulsory purchase our building.
Sorry to interrupt you. Compulsory
purchase the building.
Compulsory means mandatory.
They were going to buy everything. And what we found out was that there was a plan to completely demolish all of Commercial Street and the surrounding streets from, say, Emlyn Street, which is now Emlyn Walk, right, which is the back end to the Kingsway Centre, okay, up to Westgate Square. And the plan was they were going to build a shopping complex like Cumbran, on an island, and then car parks all the way around. And there were so many pubs and banks and commercial properties in the area that they fought against it. So you didn't get it. So what you got instead of that was the Sovereign Arcade, John Frost Square. What you saw...
That was a substitute of their idea.
That was a substitute of those ideas. And then after Tesco went, and things, the town lost that drive of people coming in, not so much in the beginning of the day, but late afternoon and evening, people were still coming in, shopping in Tesco. That all stopped. So the trade-in day got smaller. Rather than us trading till 8 and 9 o'clock at night, we lost 3 hours. We were then struggling to trade after 7 o'clock, and then that got gradually quieter. So obviously traders start complaining about that, and the council made some attempt to attract developers in, and there was a couple of schemes that didn't get off paper. So we had this real decline. And if you will probably remember at the back of the Kingsway Centre, the car park.
Yeah.
And in 2002, that car park was closed down. That was the main car park in the town, was shut because it had concrete cancer.
Oh, so it was, yeah.
And that was it. Nobody did anything about it. So we only had the 2 car parks on the side of John Frost Square, yeah, which eventually got blown up, if you remember.
Yeah.
And
the bus station was underneath them.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, yeah.
And nothing happened. And people were pulling their hair out. And then all of a sudden, in 2005, we get the announcement that the Ryder Cup is coming to the county,
yeah.
And everybody's excited. And then the penny dropped. Oh dear, the rest of the world is going to be looking at Newport. And look at the state of it. So the council got in a developer called Modus Corvus. Now, they were doing shopping centres all over the country. And they made an agreement with the council that before they built this shopping centre, and it was twice the size of Friars Walk, it was £200 million worth of investment. Where Debenhams is now, that was going to be Marks and Spencer's. Where the cinema went, alongside Kingsway Centre, was going to be Debenhams.
Right.
There was a tower block in the middle for flats. There was medical centres, cinemas, everything. And we were all very excited about this. So the deal with the council was that they would rearrange the infrastructure of the roads. There wasn't going to be a bus station. It was going to be a continual loop of traffic moving around the town of buses. Because I went and saw the video presentation of it at the top of the market. It looked good. And then we had the credit crunch. Now, but before that, the council embarked on all this project, and it disrupted the town so much that people just got fed up and went elsewhere. Like they all went to Cumbrian or they went to Cardiff. And because of the credit crunch, Modus Corvus couldn't raise its finance. And in fact, it went out of business at one time. It left a half-built shopping centre in Wigan that didn't get finished till 2012. Left a hole in the ground in Swindon. Yeah. So all this was chaos. So the traders had absolutely nothing. So I got involved then with the Chamber of Trade. And we were trying to do all sorts of things with the council. In fact, in 2010, we organised a meeting and nearly 200 traders turned up at the King's Head Hotel. There was at the time, we had a Conservative Lib Dem coalition council, and Matthew Evans was the leader. And we had the representatives from the council and representatives from the Welsh Assembly. Right. And it got quite nasty, that meeting. It was really... So I think we got the message across, because shortly after, the Chamber of Trade was invited to meet with the leaders of the council, and we got free car parking in the city centre for 2 hours. And Matthew Evans promised to get a new developer within 12 months, and he did get one within 6 months. He got Queensbury to build the Friars Walk. But unfortunately, that didn't come online till the end of 2015. So we lost 5 years of a shopping centre. But the problem we had was all those people that stopped coming to Newport 2006, 2007, and they still kept going to Cumbrian and elsewhere, and they've never come back. Combine that with the internet effect of shopping, the lack of confidence after the referendum vote, and the pandemic, we just has had so much bad luck. Because if we hadn't have had the credit crunch, we would have probably had that £200 million development by 2010.
And the passing trade would have been amazing.
And we would have been somewhere. When Friars Walk opened on the 12th of November 2015, we had, 6 weeks of phenomenal trade.
When it first opened?
Yeah, when it first opened. Middle of November till the end of December, phenomenal.
Yeah.
And then woof.
Do you still get that, Chris? Obviously, do you still get that at selective times of the year? Christmas time, do you still get your...
Well, I get one busy day a year now, and that's when the lights go on.
I was just going to go there.
When the Christmas lights go on, people just flock to Newport on that day, and we have a good day's trade till about 8 o'clock at night, and that's it. Forget it. At the moment, I can't trade beyond 5 o'clock in the evening. The town goes quiet. 4 o'clock onwards.
You know it does.
Well, we're lucky in Lennar Street that we don't have empty shops, but most of them are shut. The clothes shop shuts at 4 o'clock. Meek's the shoe shop. He goes 4:30. We shut around 4 to 5. If I've got people in the restaurant late, I'll keep the door open and I'll stay open, and we very rarely see anything, even on a Saturday, even when the county's playing.
Yeah,
they all come over from the county and disappear.
They don't even smell the chips and think, don't they?
I get them before they go.
Have you got your loyal customers that you see
monthly,
weekly?
Oh yeah, but I mean, you take the county. We get a few come in the restaurant. I tend to get more away supporters come in than the county.
Yeah, I think fishers from
have
some fish and chips.
But it's there's a combination of everything, and I think it's not just Newport; it's all over the country. When I talk to other people in the same game, they say it's gone very, very quiet in the evenings, and if they're in a town centre or a city centre, the footfall's dropped. Although in Lanarth Street, footfall is measured. There is a measure of footfall by the council. There's a laser counter on the wall above Lloyd's Bank.
Is it?
Yeah.
Brilliant. Could you give me an insight of that? They've give you any figures about the count?
The council will tell you that footfall is up on pre-pandemic. But
can I ask if you believe that?
Yes, it is, because I see them all go past.
You see it, okay.
They don't necessarily come into the shops.
Yeah, but you see it.
But it's the thoroughfare that comes out the John Frost Square from the car parks up into Commercial Street, because most of the people that come into Newport are coming in for the banks.
Yeah.
They're not coming in to shops so much.
That's right. Because it's the only reason my grandfather pops into town these days is because he likes to go into the bank.
But if you do visit Newport a lot, you keep an eye on shops, and it changes. I mean, some shops close, some shops open. Not big ones, but small ones. And there is a variety of people looking around. Look, I get, especially ladies, they come into the shop and they say, every time I come to Newport, I come into you. But I don't come to Newport very often because there's no shops. And I say, what shops do you want? Do you want John Lewis? Oh, no, that's too expensive. Well, we've got Primark. We've got New Look. We've got Topshops. We've got River Island. We've got Next. And I go through them all, and they just look. Because what they don't want to do is walk with the shops. I mean, Newport is long. It's got a long shopping centre.
Do you know when Tesco's moved over to Spitty?
Yeah.
Do you think that was the start of Spitty Industrial Estate?
Well, when they went in there first, there wasn't much there. I don't know if you can remember it. There was a building in the middle with a big, tall clock tower, and it was a Texarkana restaurant. Then it became a Chinese.
I know. I remember Fatty Arbuckle's over there, which turned into the pizza. I'm from around the area, all the way in England. I can remember Quick Save and the Gala Bingo was over in there, and the Tesco's. But can't really remember much more. But now it's absolutely.
But the Tesco there now is one of the biggest in the country.
I know.
It's huge.
And as for shops, my mind's just drifting, thinking of where. That's where people are as well, aren't they?
Yes.
The car park, there's phasing cars over there at the time.
If you put the city centre and that together, you would see a lot of people.
Yeah.
But Newport is just everywhere. You've got a shopping centre down Maze Glass with the range.
Yeah.
And a few other shops.
With that big warehouse they have there.
Yeah, you've got a couple of things down there you've got to all drive round to. And then you go out to Dunelm, out Nash.
That's right.
And then you go to Spitty. So the planners have allowed it to be split up, and then it's no good them saying, well, we're trying our best to do something for the city centre after you've allowed it all to go elsewhere.
Yeah.
So it's not only Newport that's done this, and I don't understand it. When I was in Kent before 83, they were just starting then to build shopping centres off the side of motorways.
Right, I'm with you, yeah.
Well, I can understand that. But to actually go into a town and do it in the middle of the town and completely destroy the ability of the town centre to keep going.
Yeah, well, now I've just thought about it.
It's beyond me.
That's it, exactly. It's beyond me too, because now I've just thought about it, and I picture the amount of cars that are over in Spitty right now as we're talking. I guarantee that all the car parks are full now. If I took them cars from there, picked them up and dropped them into the car parks in the city centre, and then people came out and walked around, and I walked out in the street, it would feel like it was even.
Yeah, Newport just doesn't get a good a good shake of the press. I mean, when they were building Friars Walk, they had to close shops to build the site.
Yeah.
So they had they had quite a lot of empty shops, but it was for a purpose. So we just got mixed up with the fact that the country was in austerity and people were looking for where all the problems were. And when I was in the president of the Chamber of Trade, I got contacted by the Washington Post in America.
This is the story I'm looking for.
And I get a phone call, and I think it was a Friday afternoon in the shop, and this American lady called and asked to speak to me, and we established that they wanted to do a story on austerity in the UK, because at the time the American Congress were America was going towards what was termed the fiscal cliff. If they didn't pass certain laws to allow them to spend X amount of money in the federal government would close down and they wouldn't be able to pay their employees. Yeah. So they were thinking, if that happened, the US would be in a state like the UK was. So they had gone onto some site and found out that there was a number of places in the UK where they had a lot of empty shops, and Newport was top of the list. So they wanted to come down. So I tried to explain to them why we had empty shops, because we were in the middle of building a new shopping centre. And they said, yeah, but we still want to talk to you. And we're also going to talk to the director of regeneration at the council. So it was an official visit. So they were sending a reporter down from London, the European-based guy from the Washington Post, and I arranged to see him after I finished in the shop, which was about 6 o'clock in the evening on the Monday. He turned up. Again, we were there for about an hour and a half, whilst I explained to him what was going on in Newport, and tried to explain to him that, yes, we have all these empty shops, but they're empty because we're now going to build a shopping centre. And I showed him where it was, because they'd started to bring equipment in. And then he said, can I send in a photographer in the next couple of days to do some photographs? Okay, so the guy comes down on the Wednesday, takes a photograph of me in the shop. Then I walk him around John Frost Square, as it was then, a big square, and showed him where everything was going to be. And whilst I was talking to the guy on the Monday night, I said, where are you from in America? And he said, oh, I'm from Florida. Oh, what part? He said, Fort Lauderdale, which is on the East Coast, on the Atlantic coast. So I said, oh, I've been going on holiday over to the West Coast to a place called Longboat Key off Sarasota. Always went there on my holidays, he said. We always went from one side to the other. Okay, so we had something in common. Now, I'd forgotten all about this until I think it was January or February. A guy comes in the shop. He says, ask him for me. He said, I'm from Ireland. He said, my brother lives in Washington. And he said, he's just sent me a copy of the Washington Post from last December. He said, there's a photograph of you in it. Oh, Christ. So I think I'm sure it's the 12th of December, 2012. And in the center page, there's a full page with me in it. And he's got photographs of all the empty shops that, and they did the article they wanted to say Main Street America is going to look like this.
And a picture of you.
But at the end of the article, he says, and Alan Edwards is so disappointed that he can't retire the longboat key.
Yeah, because you love they. Oh, it's brilliant. He made
but the press just want to tell the story they want to tell.
Of course they do.
And they just used Newport,
TV and newspapers
to make their point, when in fact we were actually had something to look forward to with the building of
instead of shining light on what we had to look forward to.
Yeah, the building of
I think it's the same. I think it's the same. It's still the same to this day. Well, I'm going to do the best I can to shine the light in the best way on all different areas of Newport businesses, people that have made something for themselves within sport and music and whatnot. Because this city is vibrant, it's full of characters, it is full of life. I know like yourself. I just can't understand why there's so much bad shit. I can understand. But why do we want to focus? Why? I wonder why we all focus on the bad, or we're drawn to the bad more than we are to the good. Not everybody, but I'm going to try my best to make a change to that. Can I just ask what you're 76 now? You haven't retired.
No.
You've got a day off today from behind the fryer. What is it like being stuck behind the fryer still at your age?
Well, I mean, if you serve if you cook food for people and they tell you they enjoy it, that's job satisfaction.
That's what you've always got your satisfaction from.
That's what you get. And we have banter with the customers, and I don't play golf.
No, so yeah.
I don't sail. What would I do? There's only so much decorating and gardening and everything else you can do. And you want to be a multi-millionaire if you want to go on holiday every other week. So, one keeps the brain going. I'm fortunate in that I don't have anything wrong with me in terms of health. I don't take medication. And
you did brilliant,
so I've always tried to keep myself fit, but it's a drive, and I'm trying to help Newport. After the Chamber of Trade, we ended up with a group of other business people in Newport setting up the Business Improvement District,
right,
which represents it's a geographical area that now covers all the city centre up Bridge Street to Clyde Crescent, over to Clarence Place along the East Bank.
Right,
of the river, taking in the Rodney Parade and coming back around the university. We have a board that represents the 500 businesses in that geographical area. I chaired the company till Newport Now for 4 years, from 15 to 19. And then I stepped back, and a solicitor, Zep Bellavia, he's the chair now. Good man. And the bid manager is the ex-editor of the Argus, Kevin Ward. He does a fantastic job for us.
Brilliant to you.
And we have to get voted in. All the businesses in the area get a vote.
So it's between the business owners to vote
whether
they want.
And it's you get a 5-year term. So we've just started the 3rd term now. Wow. We've had 2 lots of 5 years, and we just started the 3rd year. We have an annual general meeting on the 20th of March, and I'm retiring from the board.
Okay, yeah.
How
do you feel about it?
Well, yeah, if I've got the building up for sale, as I told you before.
Yeah, I was going to try and not to mention it.
I will retire then.
Oh man. Can I interrupt you and ask a question? The building's up for sale. Vacaras. There must be a certain spud. I don't know what it is. It's just everything. It doesn't lose its taste. I can go to a fish shop and eat some. I can pass through a fish shop and I can eat something and I can go back there the next week. It doesn't taste the same. I've never had in my whole 34 years in my life ever had a different taste from it. It's always the same. It's going to be sad to see the business go or the building go and turn to something which properties, even of flats and whatever it would be. Obviously, the building has to be sold. Is it an option for the business to be sold, the building to be sold with the business in there?
Well, if somebody bought the business and they wanted to run a similar operation or a catering operation from there, and they wanted help to know where we did it, I would be prepared to show them.
That'd be brilliant.
But it's up to them. I mean, you can go to any of the fish and chip shops in Newport and ask them how they do things, and I think you'll find that they don't do them like me.
I'm not going to ask you how you do that, but
I make my batter a certain way.
Yeah.
I buy the best fish I can possibly get hold of.
That's the win. That's
I buy the best frying potato I can get hold of. But a lot of people, we all use similar stuff. So why they're different, I don't know.
Gravy's distinctive.
We make gravy a certain way.
Yeah, you never give that. Would you pass that on to someone to leave that in the city?
We buy we buy the mix.
Yeah.
And it's made by bachelors.
Right. Yeah.
And there's obviously labels on the box, and it gives you instructions, and we completely ignore those instructions. we make it our way.
Like my grandmother with a cake or a curry.
We make it our way, and people seem to like it.
They like it.
Gravy, chips, and cheese. The Newport meal.
I was just gonna pop a question and say, what do you think you sell the most of?
Gravy, chips, and cheese.
It really is at the moment.
It is. In 1983, 84, we used to sell fish and chips. We never sold anything else until 1988.
Really?
Really.
Sausage and batters, fish cakes,
nothing. Just fish and chips. That's all we sold.
Okay.
Because you couldn't do it. I mean, they were so busy.
It
was so busy.
Fish, chips.
It takes me now 3 months to sell the same amount of fish as we used to sell on a Saturday.
You what? In 12 weeks?
Takes me 3 months to sell the same amount of fish as we used to sell on one day.
That's 6 days a week you're open?
Yeah.
6, 12, 4.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
24,
we used to sell
80.
so much fish.
So within 85 days, you don't sell as much as what you used to sell in one Saturday. That is absolutely baffling.
But we sell all sorts of other things now.
Yeah.
We don't sell a lot of fish. As you know, I do different sizes, but I offer people 3 sizes of fish: small, medium, and large.
I was just going to say.
And I offer them, they can tell me what cut they want. You can have a tail, I'll cut it. You can have a middle, I'll cut it off.
Yeah, because sometimes if I've come in and I just want the chips and gravy, and I've looked into the heater or whatever, and I've seen a couple of little bits, and I've had, now and then you'll check a price on it, there and then.
They're offcuts.
Yeah, all the offcuts.
After the fish comes in long, big fish, and I chop it up, and you get the bits at the end, and
just chuck in a bit of batter and get it in.
A bit of batter. But I cook to order because I do believe it's better. You don't want anything that's been hanging around.
Dried out.
No, so you get it fresh.
That's another reason why people are latched. What was your longest serving employee?
Ooh.
That wasn't a family member.
Oh, well, I've got my wife's cousin's been there nearly 25 years at the moment, but we've had others who've been there. There was one, I think she's still alive now, May Halpin. She lives down May's Glass. She was there when I was a teenager, and she retired about 10 years ago.
Oh, brilliant! I hope she's still here.
But when I was a boy, there was sort of family members, extended family members who'd been there since they were sort of young kids coming out of school.
Obviously, as time passes on, the world changes. Your children you may have, or grandchildren that may be in the family, men or women, they never was interested in coming to take over from grand.
I got 3 boys.
You got 3 boys. I see the one,
and they're all they're away. They're all got professional jobs.
And they live in different parts of the world.
Sussex, Northamptonshire. One's in Cardiff.
They was never really interested in keeping it.
No,
they wanted to make their own lives. And was you happy for that to happen?
Yeah, sure. They got educated. The eldest one's a scientist. Does medical research.
Brilliant.
The middle one's director of engineering for Wessex Water. He lives in Cardiff, but works out of Bath. Because his wife, my daughter-in-law, she works for Tata Steel in Port Talbot. She's the only female production manager in Tata Steel.
Well, that's a big
she runs part of the coal mill in Tata Steel. And my youngest one's, he's a trained pharmacist, but he does what they call regulatory affairs, which is if you're selling a drug into a country, you've got to know the laws, how to label it and everything. And he's a consultant. He goes to different companies, show them how to do it on.
Right, yeah.
So they're
I'm not surprised you didn't want them to fry fish because they went and had their own.
They got their own thing going
So,
on.
Alan,
And I got 7 grandchildren.
7 grandchildren.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
From one's 20, the youngest is 7.
And the 20-year-old doesn't want to fry fish these days. They want to be a scientist.
The 20-year-old, she's in Queen Mary University in London doing biological engineering.
It sounds like you got
medical engineering.
Sounds like you got some diamonds within the bloodline.
Oh, they are, yeah. My wife will tell you they follow her.
Right, yeah, I'm with you. So I just need to thank you for coming in today.
It's a pleasure.
Another thing which
we love talking about Newport.
Yeah, we love talking about Newport. We're at 45 minutes, and I'm trying to keep the podcast to 45 minutes to an hour. But I know we could sit here and we could sit and talk for another hour and a half, maybe a little bit longer.
Especially about the music scene.
There we go as well. Can we agree on something whilst you're here?
Sure.
I hope the shop won't close anytime soon. Would you be able to do a part 2?
Yeah, I'll do a part 2 for you.
Part 2. I think we let this...
We'll talk about the nightlife in Newport, what it used to be like.
Yeah, okay.
The Royal Albert and...
Yeah.
Do you remember the Royal Albert?
I don't. You want to give us a quick one? I'll tell you what, we'll get a quick music story. And we'll try and finish this on 55.
Burnians, that was the... Yeah, they were still here in the 80s, but they were 60s, 70s. We had this big building by where Wildings was. 3 floors, steak restaurants. I'd be there 2 o'clock on a Sunday morning.
Because you'd finish
we'd be out because in the 60s I was a teenager. We'd be late teens, We'd be in the pubs and then out.
You still enjoy a beer?
Yeah, sure. We'd be. I used to play a bit of rugby for Whiteheads, Welsh Junior Union.
What school? Club Ace they got it there.
Basic.
Oh,
great, isn't it?
What an amazing club Ace they did. They still got the balls, they got all the football, all the rugby, the squash. That's one of the last existing grounds that are perfect.
I know. I used to play it there for a couple of years and then go into town and
party.
But you could and there was so
live
many
music.
pubs.
Live music was a big thing.
Live music, seagulls and in the pubs, yeah. Now, in 1963, Cardiff, where the Capital Shopping Centre is in bottom of Queen Street, was the Capital Cinema.
Right.
And they used to have live music in there. So I was just before my 15th birthday. The Rolling Stones were the opening act. Little Richard and the Everly Brothers.
Little Richard? Yeah. My nana loves Little Richard. Black fella.
Wambamaluma,
Bamboo. Yeah, Tutti Frutti.
Yeah, I saw him. I saw Bo Diddley and Jerome down there.
In Newport?
In Cardiff.
In Cardiff, yeah.
In the capital.
In the capital thing.
It was
Oh,
I mean, I know you get big acts now in the Millennium Stadium, but in those days and it was like a cinema, so you'd have a couple of hundred people,
Yeah,
and it'd be
still
intimate.
Yeah.
Well, I know my wife liked the Beatles, so she saw the Beatles twice down there. There was Dusty Springfield song down there.
No way.
And you go over to Bristol, and you get the big. I saw Otis Redding.
Oh wow.
Chuck Berry. Yeah.
You've seen all these live.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. We're gonna settle on this. Like, I thank you so much for giving us the history on the fish shop. I need to express to you how much I love the fish shop. Thank you for everything you've done for the city. This is amazing. I'm pretty sure everybody in this city, I can speak for everybody, they love the fish shop. And now we've just ended, or we're getting towards the end, and you just mentioned 5 or 6 artists there that are huge, and I'm into their music because of it's been passed down from my grandparents. So on part 2, I think we start with the music.
Okay.
Alan, again, thank you so much for coming today. Everybody, thank you for tuning into the You Smile, I Smile podcast. And don't forget, when you're in Newport City Centre, it's a must that you go to Vacara's and get yourself some chips and whatever else you'd like to go with your chips. So, Alan, thank you very much for today. And we're going to leave it there.